Today we're going to cover how to make a basic swinging log trap. This trap, like all the other traps and puzzles that I show on this channel, are in my module, which you can download from the link in the description. So we basically have some adventurers traveling along a path in a forest, and as they're moving along, the one at the head of the group steps on the trigger, and they get smacked. And they get prompted for their saving throws. Everybody rolls. They take the damage. Okay, now let's take a look at how we set this up. We set things back. Oops. And move him back out of position. So we have a few elements here. We have the log itself, which is just a graphic tile with the tag log assigned to it. And that's all there is to that. Then we have these two tiles here, and these tiles are markers for where the log starts from and where the log ends up. So when you want to set this trap up in a different map or whatever, you simply place the log in, you place the starting position where you want the log to be and the ending position where you want the log to end up, along with the triggering tile and then the damage zone tile. And those are all the elements. So for the log and the start, all they are is just a tile with a tag. So you have the log tag and you have the start tag. For this one, it pulls double duty. It's the target where the log ends up, but it also is the reset button rather than having a separate reset button. So it's triggered on double click, GM only. And when you double click, it activates the trap because after the trap finishes, it's going to deactivate itself. So this turns the trap back on. It hides the log and it moves the log back to start. Very simple. For the trigger tile, even more simple. All it does is trigger when a token enters it. And when it triggers, it just triggers the tile tagged as zone, which is the damage zone. And for triggering, we're not triggering to a landing. We're just calling the tile from the tag zone. So where all the real action happens is in the zone. This is where we're doing all the fancy stuff. So the first thing it does is it just does the show hide action, shows the tag log. So the log appears, then it plays the sound file for the swooshing sound of the log, and then it moves the log to the target location. You can adjust timings from this. For example, you always want to put the starting of the sound file before the animation, so the sound is playing during the animation. And then in here, you can adjust the duration depending on like how far it's traveling, how long your sound file is, things like that, to tweak it so that the animation and sound and everything go together and everything looks right. Next, we have an important step. The way people usually do it when they're doing damage to things is they'll put the damage calculation right in where you're doing the hurt or the attack or whatever it is. The problem is then that the damage gets re-rolled for every person being damaged, every group being damaged or whatnot. And the way that damage is supposed to work for traps and for spells like Fireball and things like that is you roll the damage once and that same damage is applied to everyone. So we're doing our damage roll up here and assigning it to a variable. So all we do is we store the variable in this tile. We name the variable damage, and then we put in the damage roll that we're going to do. The other advantage of doing it this way is if you've got multiple lines in your tile, that are doing the damage, having it in this single place, in addition to following the rules, which is nice, but this also allows you to only have to change the damage in one place if you decide to change it. Then the next one is we're calling for their saving throw. So we set it up. Tokens within the tile is the group that we're affecting. So it's everyone within this zone. We're calling for a dexterity saving throw. We're setting the DC 15. This is also where you'd come in and change the saving throw or the DC if you're redoing this map or redoing this trap in a different location and the function is working differently. A little bit of flavor text there. They're doing a public roll. We're not bypassing the dialogue or auto rolling. This way the players have more agency and then they can roll themselves. And then we're going to continue with all of the tokens and we're going to continue in all circumstances. It doesn't matter if everyone passes, everyone fails, some pass, some fail. We're always going to go down to the next step. In the next step, we're redirecting the results. This is where you get different behavior based on who passed, who failed. So for everyone who passes, they're going to go to the passed landing here. For everyone who fails, they're going to go to the failed landing. And then after all the pass and fail is done, everyone is going to go down to the continue landing when they're done. So for pass and fail, we're doing the same thing. The only difference is the people who pass, they take half damage. And for the people who fail, they take full damage. Now, I was doing a little bit of experimenting here, and I forgot to change this back, so I'm just going to quickly copy this. And we're going to put it in here. So what we're doing is we're calling on that variable that we established earlier up here, where we've already rolled the damage and assigned it to the variable. So this variable.damage contains the result of that damage roll so that all the same damage is being applied across everyone. Now, because this is the group that passed the saving throw, they're taking half damage. We're dividing it by 2. So we're doing minus because in heal harm, if you don't have a minus in there, it will heal them. So we're doing minus. And then the 2 square braces, anything inside the 2 square braces, that's a formula. That's a calculation to be done or a roll to be done or something like that. So you put the 2 square braces. And then when you're dealing with variables, you always put them inside double curly braces. So you get 2 opening square braces, 2 opening curly braces, variable, and then dot, and then the name of the variable, which is damage. Then we close the 2 squirrely braces. We put in a /2, which is divide by 2. They're taking half damage. And then we close the 2 square braces. We're making it with a chat message. Now, unfortunately, there was a change back in version 10 where they locked things down a lot. And unfortunately, Monk wasn't able to work around it. So although the chat messages are being put out, only the GM can see them. The GM can click on them individually and reveal to everyone. But as you can see, it's 1 card per person affected, and there could be a bunch. So that could be a real hassle. So unfortunately, I mean, it sends handy messages to the GM's chat. So the GM can keep track of what's going on, can scroll back to see what happened, that kind of thing. But unfortunately, the players aren't going to see it. Public roll doesn't actually do anything here because the roll was actually done back here when the damage was set. So that doesn't really do anything. And show dice, I mean, the GM sees dice, but the players don't. So unfortunately, those things don't really help anything. Future editor me here. An important point that I missed as I was going over these that I wanted to bring up is the select entity. When you're doing the hurt heal, has to be set to current tokens, which is this button here. Because we're affecting the current group of tokens that came from the saving throw. So there are 2 groups. There's the group that passed and the group that failed. So if you set it to all tokens or triggering token or whatever, that's not going to work. It is important that it is set to current tokens so it affects the current group, which for passed is the passed group and for failed is the failed group. Sorry about the mistake. Back to your regular scheduled video. So in the failed landing, we're doing exactly the same thing. The only difference is we're not dividing the damage by 2. And then in the continue landing, which is where we go after everything else is done, everyone comes down here. It just deactivates the trap. So now players can walk around this area and they will continue triggering the trap. And that's it. That is all you need in order to set this up. So now you can reset your trap by double right clicking. The reason why I use double right click is it's a lot less likely you're going to accidentally trigger it with a double right click. And that's why I use that as my default for resets. Because depending on the circumstances, accidentally triggering a trap reset could really mess things up. So it makes it less likely that things are going to get accidentally triggered. So now when, and all the players that are inside the zone, and if you want, like, for example, let's say I wanted the zone to be larger. I want more people to be affected, right? I can just drag the zone, expand it out, and now the zone is larger. And if I wanted the log to move further, I just move the target of where the log is going to land. Keep in mind that you may need to adjust the log's speed, the duration on the movement, in order for it to still look right with the larger travel distance. So now when one of the players steps on the trigger, we couldn't see it behind the thing, but the log flew forward to its location. There was the swooshing sound, which you probably couldn't hear because I was talking. And then we request. Now, I'm not going to bother switching over the other screen, so I'm just going to have it automatically roll for everyone. It rolls, and it applies the damage. They can see the saving throw card, but they don't see the individual damage cards. Only the DM sees those. But it's still handy information to have, because you may need to, there might have been a mistake. Someone says, oh, wait, no, I wasn't actually there, or I forgot my thing was on or whatnot. And so you need to go back and see how much damage they took, so you know how much to heal them to undo the damage. So it's still handy information to have. It's just unfortunate that it doesn't show to the players. And then after the trap has been sprung, it's now disabled, so people can move around. Nothing happens. And if you want to reset the trap, because you were just testing it, or you're loading the map up for another group that you're DMing for or whatever, you just come over here, double right click, and it goes back to the way it was. And that's all there is to it. Very simple to set up. Again, a copy of this trap, a little more advanced. I have some extra features in my version of the trap where you can double click, just like with all my traps and puzzles. I'll show you here. The normal version of the trap, you can double click on here and it allows you to customize the damage and the damage type. That's more advanced, so it's outside the scope of this video, and it also uses a custom macro, and these lessons are just about monks active tile triggers rather than macros, so we're not going to get into that. But a copy of this version of the trap is included in my module, as I said, along with all my other traps and puzzles, down in the link in the description. So check that out, and we'll see you the next time.